just gonna say, welcome back to the wrestling life. Um, and before this, we were Jake Herbert and I were just talking about Double Leg Ninja. How did that idea start? But first of all, hilarious, hilarious shirts. Love them.
Right?
Where'd you get that idea from, bud?
Oh man, I forget. I think there was people that kept like asking me about like would say like ask me about my zombie shirt,
Right,
and you'd be like, "What?" And then you pull it up, and there'd be like a zombie face under there.
right.
So I was like, "Oh, that works perfect." It was I don't know, because we're trying to figure out a name for our company. We could not figure out what the heck wrestling name, what wrestling apparel name we wanted, and it's what we agreed on.
That's pretty
That's
awesome.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What you call it? Now, you and I met at at Super 32 this past weekend, and you're out in Ann Arbor right now. And
Yep.
tell people if they don't know exactly what you're doing out there.
The USA Wrestling Executive Director. You're looking at a co-executive director. My other half being my boyfriend / business partner / training partner /
Hetero life mate
/ one of my best friends, Andy Robat.
Yeah.
So we've taken this on together, and it's kind of nice. When you're training by yourself, it's kind of hard with wrestling. But then when you have a training partner that you're there, you're constantly with, you're in sync with, they kind of hold you accountable. So it's kind of nice that I got this training partner right now for life for the next year. Andy and I are doing Double Leg Ninja. We're doing the co-executive directors for USA Wrestling Michigan, and we've been developing our new training system too.
Well, that's really what I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, and again, this is more of a selfish endeavor, right? Because you're talking to somebody that youth wrestling, high school wrestling, college. I mean, wrestling, developing great human beings through the sport of wrestling is something that I've always been passionate about. And so, tell us a little bit more about the system that you and Robat are kind of starting to do in Ann Arbor.
Okay. Do you want me to do that right now?
Yeah. Look, the whole thing about this is that we are literally as conversational as we can be, man. I mean,
So the thing that Robat and I are doing, we kind of sat down and we're thinking about taking on this job for USA Wrestling. Originally, why we wanted to do it was we wanted to put the World Team Trials on this year in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's not going that well anymore. They want a really steep price for Chrysler.
Mm-hmm.
For us to put it on at that price, it's not going to be worth it.
It just doesn't make sense, right?
No. Especially with their work. And we talked to Oklahoma, we talked to Iowa about what we should offer for a venue, and this is like double or triple.
Really?
What they were paying. So I don't know if it's something with the athletic department just doesn't want to do it, or
they'll make up reasons, and those reasons tend to be they always answer with the higher, basically they give us enough rope to hang ourselves is what they're doing.
Well, they're putting on the final freeze this year where like USA plays Canada in a hockey match, which they're renting out that facility for $3 million. So they're making So Well, okay, hey, we got $50,000 for a wrestling facility here. They're like 50. We want it to be 100. Shit, man, that's a big difference for wrestling. I know. I'm sorry, we do a $3 million hockey thing and the NHL coming in. But you would think the university would want the sport and want this, but it's just people are lazy, man. They're not wrestlers in there. That's why.
That's kind of the thing, right? We forget. I forget because I only deal with wrestlers. How fucking lazy other people are. I mean, and I don't mean that to sound pompous and to sound, superior or whatever.
Oh, we are superior. We're wrestlers. We are superior. It's that's just how it is. We're not normal. We're different. We're better because we want to wrestle. It's not normal to want to just grab another human being and have that feeling of mentally breaking them, even though they're one of your great friends, they're one of your best friends. You've been doing it every day, but you get that feeling where you just know they're breaking. You turn up that little more, but that's not a normal thing. That makes us better. That's why wrestlers make the best, and you put this in here. That's why they go on to be the most successful at anything.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked to Well, I don't think we've had one person on this podcast that hasn't wrestled, except for Dylan Wanagle, who is the one of the head muckety mucks at Madison Square Garden. He's responsible for putting on that grapple at the Garden.
Yeah, great guy. His
He's
son's a
yeah, his son wrestles for Red Bank, which is literally a stone's throw from where I'm sitting right now. And great guy. And dude, if anybody I've ever spoken to gets it, it's him. He's going. I'm going to hire wrestlers. I'm going to give wrestlers every opportunity I can because they are a different breed and because they are, willing to go that extra mile. Oh, funny story. A kid that I trained, one of the first students at my club, is now. He's now just finishing up law school, and he's working. I guess they call it interning, but he is actually making money for this huge firm up in North Jersey. And the other people that are quote unquote interning with him don't understand how he can work through lunch, stay there at 9 p.m. And he's like, but you can give me water. Like, I can drink water while I do this.
Yeah, I can grab an apple and just like eat as I go, like real quick, like that, and not have to worry about that 10 extra pounds I just put on.
Yeah, 10 extra pounds from an apple, which is always wrestler math. I mean, wrestling math is a little bit different than most math. But yeah, he's like, he's talking to this, this chick that he works with that, obviously never competed at anything in her life. And he goes, yeah, but you don't understand. I would have to put in this type of time to wrestling, and not only could I not eat or drink anything at the time, but there was somebody on the other end of this. There was somebody wanting to kill me. You know what I mean? Like, so this is easy. All I got to do is thumb through some boring ass text. Yeah, I think we can handle that. I think it's really not that big of a deal.
I tell those kids every camp I go, listen, guys, it's like, I know not all, like, look, they're giving 10 state titles away this year. Yeah. There's 50 of you in the room. Not all of you are going to get one, man. It's like, not all of you guys are going to go on. If you only give out 7 Olympic gold medals every 4 years, you're not going to get it. I was like, but what you're going to get from wrestling is like, you're going to be in like a job interview. You're going to be in like a group setting where they're going to be like, oh, you got to work through lunch. And that's the exact same thing I tell them. I tell them that exact same thing. And they look at me and they go, yeah, that's going to be easy. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be easy, man. You already did the hardest thing in your life. You've already done the hardest thing in your life by going through this practice, by picking wrestling. Like, life's easy now, man.
Isn't that funny, though? Isn't that funny? Because I remember my dad did not wrestle. I do not come from a family of wrestlers. I come from a family of short, white, unathletic cat. I mean, not that I'm not any of those things. I'm just saying, like, but my old man didn't he literally brought me to my first wrestling practice expecting there to be ring ropes set up and things like that. So he had nothing to do with wrestling at all, which worked out in my favor because he did play baseball, and boy, he fucked me up in that, as a coach. But I mean, no, so he basically, he facilitated everything. But I remember him as I was going through high school wrestling, and he would always give the obligatory speech to me how, one day, life is going to be a lot harder than high school is, and he was right to a certain degree, but nothing was harder than college wrestling. There was just nothing that I have a family, I own 2 businesses, I speak to people on a daily basis. Nothing's nearly as hard as putting time in, time out in a Division I wrestling room. There's just nothing harder than that.
Oh, and I had the one year when I was cutting weight too. I was making 174. I literally, anything I put, because I was weighing 190 pounds, wrestling 174, and anything I would eat, anything I would drink, with the exception of wrestling practice, I could drink all the water I wanted, but I'd write down exactly what it is. I'd write down 12 ounces of water and then drink 12 ounces of water. I'd write down 1 apple. I'd write down like one blah, blah, every single thing. So I literally had documents of everything I ate from the whole wrestling season that was going like into my body.
Now, let me ask you this. Now that you're dealing with today's youth, or this sports youth in 2013, where do you stand on educating these kids on how to cut weight or to do it at all? I mean, is that a necessary evil in our sport, or can we get rid of it?
12 years old. You're under 12 years old. Hey, to skip like a meal the day of or the day before weigh-ins, that's all right. 24 hours to go without that can be done because that happens naturally. Like some kids, they sleep into 11 or 12, they get up and they do something, and then all of a sudden they've gone 18 hours without food already. Like that's all right. I mean, we're talking if you want to make like a weight class that's within like 2 or 3 pounds.
Right. Okay.
And it's the state champion. Week in, week out, why would you do that to yourself? You're going to weigh what you're going to weigh. Go wrestle it. Why cut weight? Why be miserable? And I tell kids that all day, especially even in high school. If you have a high school kid, he's like, well, if I go down to 103, I could really take state this year. I weigh 120. Dude, go 112. Take the extra time that you would spend running, jogging, manage your weight. Take that extra time and put it and reinvest that back into your wrestling, reinvest in your high crotch, in your single leg, into your double leg. You'll get a little better, and that difference will hopefully be what can close the gap that you can be successful then at 12. If you're going to be successful at 3, there's no reason why you can't be successful at 12. If you're only better because you're that much bigger and that much stronger,
Then you're
that's
not that much better. Yeah.
no, bigger and stronger doesn't always win, man. It doesn't always win. Look at the Russian nationals. The heavyweight Gadasov wins it this year. Wayne freaking didn't make the team at 96 kilo, bumps up the heavyweight and wins it.
Yeah. And by the way, that 96 is brutal there. So I mean, you can see why he would go. Maybe I'll do some extra squats. What do you think? So, but yeah, these kids, and I look at it almost, and this is, and hopefully you can help me with this. Okay, the way that I am starting to explain weight cutting to my wrestlers and to my wrestlers' parents. And this is the important part, is the way that we frame it, okay? Because wrestlers as a culture are petrified of the word lazy, right? We really are. Even saying the word lazy makes my stomach turn right now, right? So no one in the wrestling community ever wants to be accused of being lazy. So what we do is we tell these kids, if you, instead of strength training, instead of, like you said, reinvesting the time that they spend, that would have been spent weight cutting, and reinvesting it into something that's much more difficult, which is perfecting a single technique, okay? Getting 10,000 reps in on a single technique. If you choose to not eat for 3 days before an event, and instead of strength training and reinvesting time into your sport, you're being lazy. You just are. Because you'd rather take the time, not take the time and actually get better. You'd rather get smaller. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. And if you really start putting it on these kids, to go, hey man, like we were at Super 32 this past weekend, right? And I have a kid named Sal Profaci who could have made 26. Now, I'm not saying he would have done, not saying he would have beaten any of the guys in the finals there, but I'm pretty damn sure he gets on the podium at 26. At 32, he doesn't kill himself on a 10-hour drive to get down there, okay? At 32, he is fat and happy walking around that place, and he wrestles better. Now, did he do as well as he could have done? Maybe not. But as long as he understands that he is not getting to where he needs to get by cutting that extra 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds just for Super 32, that spoke volumes about the kid. He'd rather just take the time and get better and get better and get better. And he went 3-2 for the weekend, which a lot of people didn't win matches down there,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if we can take this culture and kind of turn it on its ear and say, hey, listen, man, if you're cutting that much weight and that's the only way you can win, you're being lazy. There's no two ways about it. You're being damn lazy. And I think, between guys like me and you, and I know Roper and Fretwell down at the compound down there are doing the same thing. We're all kind of conferring with one another and going, why are we doing this? We don't need to kill these kids anymore. We don't need to, chop their arms off to make weight. We don't need to have them, in the gym till 10 o'clock at night, running on a damn treadmill. I think we can change this sport pretty easily.
Oh yeah, and that's just one way of how it starts. I mean, you're spot on with that. And that's a great analogy to look at, as being lazy to cut weight. You think it's more dedication, but I mean, you don't know that. I didn't know when I was in 10th grade. I thought, okay, you know, I have an apple ahead of me and I have a cookie. The apple is a pound. The cookie weighs point 0.1. I'm going to eat the point 0.1 because I can eat 10 of these and that equals one of these. But you don't realize that what you get from this isn't the same as what you get. Because you don't know that yet.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that we have to kind of be more teachers than coaches sometimes, right? Because you're right. A lot of these kids they grew up with the mindset, well, what's heavier, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers? Well, they're both a pound. Yeah, well, guess what? I'm going to get more out of that apple. And when we start kind of teaching these kids that, unfortunately, the sport that you chose has a restriction on it that allows you or disallows you to enjoy food sometimes, and that's part of your sport, okay? Just like drowning is a part of water polo. I guess I don't really know, but my point is that it's an unfortunate part of our sport that only allows us to look at food as simply fuel sometimes, and you have to kind of examine where you're going to get more bang for your buck. Given 1,000 calories of granulated sugar, 1,000 calories of protein, and complex carbs and stuff like that, you're going to have a much easier time. You're going to get more out of the better foods, and again, that's why I'm starting to move away from the word coach. Because to me, the word coach implies that knucklehead screaming his head off in the corner, the guy that Mike Krause and Joe Flo make fun of in their videos. But we have to be teachers. We have to be education minded in order to get through to a lot of these kids, man.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, and you're spot on with that. I mean, gosh, like, yeah, you have to go without food a little bit every now and then. Cutting weight, it's not hard, but it's wrestling, and that's what they start to get, is when you really get into it. It's a lifestyle. It's not like baseball. It's not like basketball or football, where you go into practice at 3, and then when practice is done at 6, practice is done. You can go home. You can eat what you want. You can drink what you want. Like, that's not it. Like, you want to be optimal. You want your body to perform at its optimal level. Always. How do you get it to perform at optimal level? Well, it doesn't start by, as soon as you're done with wrestling practice, going to McDonald's and putting shitty fuel in your body, going home, playing video games, and then staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then waking up at 7 for school. That's not it. That's actually going to give you practice when or you're going to struggle when you go into practice the next day. You might be able to step it up for baseball, for football, yeah, but wrestling is too hard of a sport. It's too much demanding. It's a lifestyle.
Where do you think that comes? I mean, is it just the food that makes it this much of a and lifestyle is the best way to put it. We have membership. Mm-hmm. The club that I own, right? We have like your basic membership, your inclusive membership, and then your lifestyle membership that includes everything, because that's what we want. We want lifers. We want guys that that really want to bring this sport home with them. They want to infect the rest of the world around them with the wrestling bug, so to speak. And I think if we can do that, and if we can kind of maybe put our finger on what is it about this sport that makes it all inclusive, then I think we have a better shot of including more people. What do you think it is?
I don't know what it would be, but it's just a life. It's just, you want to be a better person. It's what it is. It's a better life. So you want to be a better person. Well, first you got to be okay with who you are. If I don't like who I am, or I hate who I am or what I'm doing, I'm never going to be able to project happiness and better things and be a positive influence on others. So I love who I am, and I love that because of wrestling, because I know I'm fairly confident, and it's not just confident, but I can back it up a lot. I have that. And it's almost to a flaw. Like, it's so bad where somebody goes, "Hey, Jake, can you?" My first thought is immediately, "Yes, I can."
Of course I can.
I don't even know what it is they're going to ask, but I'm like, absolutely, I can 100% do that. And if I see somebody else doing that, I'm like, well, if they can do that, there's no reason why if I dedicated my time and I did that, like, what I do. Like, I sometimes think what I would have done if I took all the hours, all the time I spent actually wrestling, and I put it into something like science,
Mm,
where I would be then. Would I be a Nobel Prize? Would I be this? Would I be that? I mean, you don't know because you have no idea what it is. I mean, I put years. I spent years on the mat wrestling, and if I
mm,
would put this time I put into my sport, that amount of time and energy and lifestyle into any other thing, I know I would have been successful at it.
yeah.
And that's what makes a wrestler truly unique. That's why you were saying guys like Dylan are hiring wrestlers. That's why
Mm,
when I go in a job interview and they see, oh, you're an Olympic wrestler, like, holy crap. Not only were you an Olympian, which means you're one of the best people in the nation who worked so hard to get to your level, but you did it in the sport of wrestling, which isn't that the hardest sport in the world? Yes, it is the hardest sport in the world. And just so you know, so whatever standard you have for me at the company, my standard for myself is always going to be higher than that. And they're like, we want you.
mm.
Well, you're the type of people because now they're like, now imagine he did this wrestling. If he puts all this into my company, imagine how far we can go. Imagine what we're going to do. And
Absolutely.
that's what we want to breed, and that's what we want to create, and that's going to make for a better place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Look, how many times do you hear guys putting down nothing more than I wrestled on their on their resume, or how many times do you hear a guy that gets pulled over by a cop? Where are you going? Wrestling practice? All right, go ahead, man. So it's kind of like it's kind of our badge of honor that we wear. But it's important that we kind of pass this along to the younger generation, and it's important to me right now that there are clubs, all across this country that are doing the right thing, man. They're doing the right thing in that they're making sure that the kids that are growing up now have a better experience through this sport than we did.
Yep.
And what I mean to say there is, you actually said it to me this past weekend. You said, look, if we take a kid that can do back handsprings across the mat, and we take a kid but never wrestled a day in his life, and then we take a kid that has been wrestling for 5 years, and we get both of their legs up in the air, who do you think is going to be harder to score on? Well, that kind of hit me a little bit, and I'm like, wait a second, why are we not spending more time on gymnastics? Why are we not spending more time on developing balance? Why are we not spending more time on developing athleticism? We can do that. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's easier to break a double leg down into 5 or 6 components and try and teach that to a kid, but I think it's unrealistic for them to actually learn it. I think it's harder for us to be more creative and find new and different and interesting ways to challenge these kids athletically, so that by the time they get a foot up in the air and they're fending off a takedown for their, call it what you want, state title, regional title, national title, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal, So is that kind of the basis of what you and Rovat are doing out there in Ann Arbor?
100%. I mean, it is a direct correlation. You take the Olympic wrestling team this year, you take the 2012 Olympic wrestling team this year, and you put those guys through athletics.
Mm.
All right, they're going to go down. And like I said, and it kind of like hit me when I'm in the village. You have other sports. You have some sports that you got to be a little more athletic than other sports. But I'm just like, wow. All right, so we're the only sport where we have to lift like power lifters,
Yep.
but for like not just for that 15-second sprint, we have to be able to do that for 7 minutes. So we got to be able to sprint like sprinters, not just for that 30 seconds, but we got to be able to sprint like sprinters through that full 7-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to also be able to do the distance running of like of the long distance milers, but we have to do it at a faster pace. We got to be able to be as agile as the gymnast and be around on our feet. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, a lot of these things I have to do. We're doing everything that all these guys do, but they're only just focusing on like one little part of it. So I'm like, you have to be athletic to wrestle. That's just it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to be to wrestle, but to be successful at it, to go to a good level, you're gonna have to be athletic.
I think
And
so.
and it's a direct correlation. I mean, maybe not. Maybe you're gonna have that one headlock or one move where it'll get you success, like as a little kid. But to be all around, to be an all around athlete, the better you are as an athlete, the better you're gonna be as a wrestler because it's natural. Wrestling's a natural thing. I actually put this new training system. Rovat and I put our girlfriends through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was really really interesting to see where because we're trying to get the standards for like kids.
Sure.
So we take two 27 and a 24-year-old who are pretty athletic girls, and they're going through all these training things, but they're wondering like why we're doing this, how we're doing it, and it was really breaking it down, and I was actually really impressed with how well they're able to do all these things, and especially a couple that they were like, I've never done that before, I've never seen that, they were able to kick over from front bridge to back bridge just based on their pure athleticism.
Really?
And when we start like, and it's funny because when I start like messing around, like, playing around with your girlfriend, like, of course, we're guys, we grab our girlfriends, we start to wrestling them, and all girls know that the best way to defend that is just to play dead, because if you don't fight back, we lose interest in walk.
Okay, good. It's funny. I thought I was the only one
Yeah,
that had a wife just falls down. All right, fair enough.
So I'm playing around with her, and she's doing all these little natural things. Like every time I go to reach for her, her hand's coming inside, and she's automatically down blocking when I'm reaching for her. She's grabbing my wrist for wrist control so that I can't, put my hands on her and move her around. And she's doing all these little things. And I'm like, and then again, she goes, okay, so explain me this wrestling game. How does it work?
Don't need to. Yeah, don't need to.
First of all, you think it's a game, it's a match. And she goes, well, like, tell me, like, what are the scores? She knows nothing about the sport. Nothing about it, but already knows hand control, already knows it's better to be inside, already knows that head position is better to be down low, I can't get to the leg. So there's a natural thing of wrestling that happens with all of us. We all have that in us. And I feel that these athleticisms, these different drills and stuff that we do, we put the kids through, these systems are built to bring out that natural ability within that is within everyone. And now everyone's natural ability is going to be different. But if you can harness what comes natural to you and it feels like it's easy and it comes natural, you're going to have more fun with it. You're going to like it better. You're going to switch because it's easier for you to get. If you pick up a piano and you can just boom, 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 and just naturally start playing it, obviously you're going to like and be more inclined to the piano than if you pick it up and you can't even keep rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty interesting, man. Because it is. It's I think, considering that this sport has been depicted on cave paintings, tells you a little bit about human nature and our inclination to want to scrap. We just do. We just want to scrap. Our whole, hunter-gatherer lifestyle that people are preaching now, really goes back to us. It goes back to wrestling. It goes back to, I have to be physically fit in order to not die from, a cougar. Or whatever, So, and the way that people did it was not by simply running, but they recognized right away that by wrestling, that was obviously a much more taxing issue. And the people that wrestled on a consistent basis just had more virility and stayed alive longer. So we are descendants of wrestlers. Everyone is. Whether they, are a banker that weighs 400 pounds and hasn't done a sit-up since 1992, or they're Jake Herbert, who's kind of matriculating out of competition into the business world. So we're all descendants of wrestlers. We're descendants of a harder breed, and
it's an easier life now, though. But it's I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Like it's great. Like and it's what we need to set about teach people. I'm a pretty tough guy. All right, I'm pretty tough. I'm pretty sure that if I were to step in a ring with somebody, it's me or them that they're gonna have to kill me, or to beat me. That's the mindset I go.
Well, don't be coy about it. Let's be honest. You're tougher than 99.9% of people on Earth. Agreed?
Exactly. So yeah. So there's very few times that I could step into a room or a place and be like, and look around and be like, if the zombie apocalypse were to happen right now, or something were just to go to free for all, I'm walking out of this room. I could physically beat up and kill every single person in this room. Do you know how many fights I've been in?
Zero. Mm-hmm.
Never been in a fight in my life.
Don't need to.
So yeah, why would I need to? And that's taught by wrestling, and that's why, because I remember taking second in the world, coming back into the wrestling room like a month and a half later, take a month off, come back in and be like, dude, there's one person on this world that can beat me. There's only one person on this world that can beat me. I've never gotten my butt kicked so badly before than that next practice when
Yeah.
I walk in. And it's just a humbling sport. No matter how tough you are, no matter how good you are, you're always going to have that day when somebody else is on, that somebody else just gets the best of you, that just gets the better of you. And so you're always, no matter how good you are in wrestling, no matter
I'm
how
gonna
perfect
have to
you
stop you. I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you. Who put it on you that day?
I'm pretty sure that was like Pritzloff and Bormat and Rovat. Those are just the three that have always put it on me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Donnie's tough. Oof.
yeah, Donnie's tough, man.
Oof.
Tough
God.
for Donnie.
I used to drill with Donnie when I was in high school. We used to go to the same club when I was in high school, and he's actually a year younger than I am. But can I tell you that I think that there is an imprint on the wall there that's probably still there. I'm not gonna lie to you. My ass and shoulder got put into that wall so hard. I'm like, dude, look, I could sign it if you want. I could just, sign it. But yeah, he just used to lump me, dude.
Exactly. And I'd have days where I would get him, and he'd
Yeah,
have days where he'd get me, and that's just the sport of wrestling, man. You can never just be completely on. That'd be like picking up a basketball and never missing a shot.
it's
You know,
impossible.
it's impossible. Exactly. And that's what's awesome about the sport. So you need to go on and teach it. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to go do something. Like it's fascinating to me, and I want more kids to be like that. With great power, they say, comes great responsibility. Well, you got to be able to use it wisely. I'd just be another dickhead if I went around and just bullying everybody, beating everyone up because I can. It's
No, that this sport doesn't. The cool thing is to me, man. Like I started doing clinics for I guess they're MMA schools, and they paid me damn near nothing. And here was why I did it. And my wife would go, "Why the fuck are you doing this for like $50?" I'm like, it's not really so much about the money as much as it is about, okay, so like what I'm doing, and this is what really intrigued me, and this is I challenge other high level wrestling coaches to do the same thing. Go do some clinics for grappling schools or MMA schools, and here's why: the people that you'll be teaching will have the understanding of our sport of about a fifth grader. A fifth grader that's been wrestling for a while. Okay, and you're smiling right now, but you know it's
so
true.
it's true.
It's
Yeah.
messed up to say because you don't want to call a 30-year-old dude with a sleeve of tribal tattoos and a douchey haircut a fifth grader, but I do. Okay, and I do every single time I'm in there. I'm like, dude, you're a fifth grader in my world. If I took a fifth grader and I blew him up to your size, he'd fuck you up, and he'd fuck you up good. Okay, and so what I and I do, I say it, and so what I say to these people is the reason that I do these clinics is simply because I get that 30-year-old, and mostly it's not so much the 30-year-old douchebag as much as it is like the 25-year-old introvert who enjoys wrestling and enjoys the sport and enjoys grappling. Those people, but they still have that fifth grader's skill level. I get to teach a fifth grader that can communicate with me like he's a 25 or a 30-year-old man. Now that becomes super interesting because I'll say to them, okay, what don't you understand about what I'm teaching? And they can actually verbalize it and express
Yeah.
it to you. Whereas a fifth grader just goes, I don't know. And they're thrown by the fact that I'm talking to them at all.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. But in those circles, it is very common for them to be scared of the douchebag with the faux hawk and the sleeve of tribal tattoos and the big muscles that are attributed mostly to GH. And so what I try to explain to them is that's not the guy you need to be scared of. You need to be scared of the little kid in the corner that's got his hood up and his flips on, right? See, you like that plug? That was a shameless plug. All right, but he's got his headphones on and he's just kind of rocking a little bit in the corner. That's the dude that'll rip your fucking arm off and try and take it home with him. That's the guy. But that's what this sport teaches you. You don't need to be out there peacocking all the time for people to take you seriously. And I think that we get that in this sport, and that's why having guys like Askren now calling out Dake, and Dake being pretty outspoken and stuff like that, is moving in a direction of something that I wanted to kind of get your opinion on anyway. What do you feel about all these things that are going on, like the Who's Number One, the Aegon, and all that stuff? Is it good for the sport? Is it going down? Because there are purists in this sport that'll say it's crap, man. It's crap.
Just go wrestle. That's how you do it. Don't talk out. That's it. But that's how every sport is. You have some guys that are flashy that just get it done. Like, I wish I knew other sports where I could tell you a quarterback that just goes out there every weekend and just does it. And then you have quarterbacks who go out there and they brag about how they're going to do it. And then even if they do it or they don't do it, it's like some back it up, some don't back it up. But I mean, that's life. That's not like purist. That's not unpurist. It's just that more pure people usually wrestle. Yes, that happens. But when you get guys like Askren that can go out there and talk about it, it adds some jazz into it. It adds some spice in it. And then you throw Johnny Hendricks in there, who was the bad guy. And I don't even know why he's a bad guy.
But he was the bad guy in wrestling because he spoke. But now he's like America's sweetheart, isn't he?
Yeah, right. It's like it's all on perception. I mean, that's what's nuts. And you look at WWF or WWE, they take a bad guy, they make him a good guy, and then they take him again, and it makes him a bad guy again. It's just like playing with the audience emotion. And if that's what gets more audience and fan members, I don't think it's a bad thing. And those purists can still be a purist because people are still going to be like, you know what? I like that guy because he just goes and backs it up. He just goes out there, he does it forward. Like you look at St. John, out there, his speech, how about that big win? What about it? And he just goes, how about it? And then, boom, walks right away. That guy didn't want to say anything else out there. He beats Jason Welsh in the national finals and gets off the mat because that's what he's supposed to do. No celebrating, no anything like that. He expected that was what he's out there to do. He went out there, he did his job, and that's what he wanted.
So maybe marketability will play in the favor of the talker. And that said, we need to market this sport a little bit differently than we have over the last, couple thousand years. Just because I think the time to allow the rest of the world to find us is over. We need to go find the rest of the world and say, look at what we do. Look at what we do. Because of MMA, we are widely regarded as the toughest sport. I think everyone is now, I can remember the first UFC, okay? I literally remember going, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard of, because it was something that every kid, at least growing up in New Jersey, every kid on the playground always said, hey, what would win, a karate guy or a wrestler? What would win, a jiu-jitsu guy or a wrestler? This was shit that we talked about all the time, and finally it was coming to fruition, and we came out on top. I don't think there's much of a question, right? I mean, we came out on top pretty much hands down. I mean, there was a while there where everyone needed to know jiu-jitsu, but once we figured that out a little bit, that was it. And then there was like a couple minutes there where Lyoto Machida would front kick somebody and everybody needed to know Kempo. But that lasted about a month. I think day in and day out, as far as mixed martial arts go, I think we're widely regarded as the toughest bastards on the planet.
And what it is it's not like, wrestling is a base, but of course, if you kick a wrestler in the face, he's going to go down. You get a wrestling armbar, he's going to go down. I think what really makes wrestling the toughest sport is just the mindset that you get. It's the training mindset. It's the fact where you go, okay, now that I'm a little bit tired, I'm going to really start pouring on in my training. Now that I can see this guy smell a little blood, that's when I pick it up to start mentally breaking that guy, because that's what you're out there on the mat to do. You're there to move and bend him to your will. I need to get to that right leg, so I'm going to move you to make that right leg come forward so that I can attack it and take you down and break you down and keep you down. And it's that mentality that transfers best over to direct MMA training, because you go through this stuff and you go, wow, standing up and boxing, that's not that hard. I just hit bags. I don't have to be down in my stance. I don't have a guy pulling on me. I'm not jamming my thumb. I'm not hitting my face. I'm not twisting my knee. I'm not doing this. It's that grind feeling, that wrestling mentality where you go in, you break, you train, you beat them. When you finally get tired, when you're so tired, you're shaking, you don't think you can do one more, you do three more, you do four more, so that you've improved yourself that much. And that mindset, when taken into any sport, I don't care if it's MMA, I don't care if it's gymnastics, I don't care, whatever it is you take that into, you're going to be better because of it. And I think that's why we directly transfer over to MMA so well.
It's funny you said gymnastics. I had a kid that I trained in high school. He was Cinderella story. He literally should not have been on the podium as a senior. He was not nearly the top, one of the top 8 best wrestlers in his weight class. He just had an awesome run, and he was a heck of an athlete. And consequently, as a matter of fact, if you look at the Rhino Wrestling Club's Facebook page, he got a little captain in you on the podium, because he was so ecstatic to be there. He was psyched. So he goes to, I forget what school he wound up going to, but it was a bigger Division I school. And he started goofing with his roommate. His roommate was a gymnast, a dude on the gymnastics team. And he could do more stuff with his body than the gymnast did. I mean, he was cranking out muscle ups. He was, iron crossing. And he's like, why aren't you on the gymnastics team? He goes, I've never done gymnastics in my life. And he goes, well, you do now. So the coach brought him out, and sure enough, winds up getting a scholarship to do gymnastics in college. And he's like, this is so easy. It's like I'm stealing from them. But he puts the same type of effort into gymnastics, and they just can't keep up with him. It's
why are you working so hard? I'm not working hard. This is just how I know how to work.
That's it. That's what we do. This is what we do. We kind of crank it out on all cylinders, no matter what. So all that said, hey man, what do we got next for for Jake Herbert? What's going on next? I mean, tell me a bit more about Double Leg Ninja. Tell me what you got to do here next to get one of those shirts.
Well, keep pestering me, because I have a thing in my email of people that want Double Leg Ninja shirts, and that builds up to like 20, 30 people. I'll put up another store. So the thing is at like 10 right now.
All right. How do they get a hold of you?
Jake at doublelegninja.com.
Yeah, of course.
So it's the best thing.
So awesome.
Right? Yeah.
It's so awesome. It makes me so happy, dude. By the way, no, look, first of all, that's another thing that needs to be kind of commented on. For so long, this sport has had zero sense of humor. Okay? What? Dude, for so long, we have been, hit in the head by the Tommy Brand's robots of the world. Or the sound bite. Everybody wants a damn Gable soundbite. But the truth of the matter is that, because I think what happened, and I'm sorry to cut you off, I do want to talk about Double Leg Ninja and stuff, but I think what happened was we were so starved for any airtime or any type of attention for most of wrestling's history, that anytime somebody would put a microphone in front of, give it a name, Smith, Brands, Gable, Kale, anytime somebody would put a camera or a microphone in front of their face, I think they had this overwhelming feeling of responsibility to just further the sport and to make the good sound bite. Whereas now in 2013, there are dopey ass podcasts like this that we can show people's actual personality. And they're, believe it or not, in 1992, it wasn't that easy to make a startup a t-shirt company or a clothing company in general. So I think now that everyone can do that, you're getting to see more of people's personalities in this sport. And that's the one thing that's more engaging to me. There are some awesome people in this sport, you being one of them, dude. We too often we just kind of get roped into the fucking Gable soundbite. And that's not to say that Coach Gable didn't have awesome soundbites. I'm sure there was a bunch of them. But I'm not like Coach Gable. I don't want that level of intensity to bleed through into my, the way I raise my kids, dude. I just don't. I like being happy-go-lucky with my kids, And I think that there are more people in this sport that have a great sense of humor than we let on.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just a mentality, Like I just felt like that Iowa mentality is you have to hate your opponent.
Yeah.
You have to hate him so much because he's out there trying to everything you worked for, everything you did. He's trying to take that from you. You have to hate him to beat you. They're sorry to beat him. And I look at that. No, I don't. I don't. I'm never gonna hate somebody because they weigh exactly the same as me. That's a Keith Gavin quote who said that right there. That's Keith Gavin said that through and through right to me. I think like a little bit. He goes, I'm not just going to hate somebody because they weigh 185 pounds.
That's fucking
And
awesome.
it's just true. And when the mat time comes, when I get on that mat there and I step on that line and I shake Gavin's hand and it's me and Keith wrestling for the World Team Trial Finals or something like that. It's a guy that I've grown up with since 10th grade. Has been my roommate at Fargo. That every time I'd come home for Christmas break, for this break, I'd call him up. We'd go in the wrestling room. We'd scrap. We'd roll around. Never at the same weights. And now here we are at the same weight class. Now, what are we supposed to not be friends anymore? We're supposed to just hate each other because because he weighs the same amount as me? No. I know how much work Keith put in. I know how much work I put in. I believe I put in more. I believe I sacrifice more. I believe I'm better. That's it. That's not going to make me hate somebody. That's going to make me go out there during a match. And yeah, maybe I'll stick my finger in his eye during a match or a little cheap. But it's during the match. After it's done, he's going to win or I'm going to win. I'm going to shake his hand and we're going to walk off the mat and everything's going to be left right there on the mat. And now it's back. I'm just like, hey, Keith, remember when you were sticking your finger in my ear and that wet willy to go over that? I was like, that was nice. It almost worked.
Well played, sir. Well played.
It's like,
but understand too that that's pretty
it's not
unique to our.
that's everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty unique to wrestling as well. Like again, I do a lot of clinic where it has since stopped, but I used to do a lot of clinics for these MMA schools, and then automatically they're super hyper competitive, like with one another, and they would get angry with me for teaching at two different schools, and I'm like, dude, I'm here to, and you don't want to sound as grandiose as I'm the ambassador for the sport of wrestling. No, it's not a matter of that, but I'm kind of bringing the gift of this sport to a different audience. I need to take advantage of that anytime I can, you know. But they get really, really mad at me. How could you go over there? Those guys are such dicks. I'm like, well, it's funny they say the same thing about you guys, and you're both pretty cool. So you might want to, learn that dude's name because he's all right. But yeah, it's something that I guess because wrestling is such a small world, and we might not even have the luxury of not liking everybody that's not on our team because we see them so much. I'm glad though that it's changing. I really am because there's some funny bastards out there, man.
You got to look at the ultimate goal. Is Iowa's ultimate goal to make Iowa the best wrestling on the planet?
Sure.
If their ultimate goal, if that's their top goal, then it's going to be hard to go outside because for Penn State's goal, if Penn State's goal is to have Penn State be the best wrestling on the planet, they can't be it by just wrestling with everybody in Penn State and everyone in Iowa. If they want the best in the world, they're going to have to try out together. That's competition. The better Iowa is, the better Penn State has to be. The better Penn State is, the better Iowa has to be. So you're going to want both getting better because as this guy's level builds up, I have to build my level up.
Yeah.
So I'm never opposed to wrestling with one of my partners, one of my things. Even if I am on top, I want to wrestle with him so I can stay on top there, see why I'm on top, or notice if he's getting better where I got to work a little bit harder to go up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. If I really want to make you better, I'm going to find that guy that pushes you the most, your opponent, your guy that trains deep, and I'm going to make him better. And then I'm going to work with you to stay up on that level and be like, this is what he's been doing, so you got to do a little more. You got to do a little more. And then I'll go back to that guy and tell him, hey, he's doing a little more. Now you got to do a little more. And that's how you make better people.
Yeah. I think that should be the biggest goal, to make better people.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make better people. Hey, I know I'm kind of put you on the spot here, but we need to. I've been talking to Kraus about getting out to Michigan here soon. Doing a lock-in out there, doing a 24-hour lock-in, and we're talking about getting. And this is in its fledgling stages, but I believe it was actually Fretwell's idea to do a celebrity lock-in. and have guys like you and Schwab competing for 24 hours straight. Are you in?
Competing? What are we doing?
Well, the concept of these.
Comment a 24-hour match with Doug Schwab.
No, no, God, no. No, no, not a wrestling match. No, the way it works is each hour on the hour we do anywhere between a 7 to 15 minute workout. Right, so let's say maybe one hour it's 300 air squats, and then the next hour at 10 a.m. it's 200 push-ups, and then at 11 a.m. it's 100 pull-ups, and then and then it's kettlebell swings, and then it's clean and snatch or clean and jerk rather. So each hour you're getting a different exercise, and those exercises are either timed or counted for reps in amount of time, but each exercise will be graded, or I guess marked, as it were, and the guy with the best marks at the end of the 24 hours wins.
And you know what's going on in Doug Schwab's head right now? He goes, "Oh, easily I could do that," and I'm going, "Oh, fuck yeah, I could beat him easily." Like
look, I just said two names. Look, I said don't call Schwab out. That's not really. It wasn't my intention, but damn it, that'd be awesome. It was so cool. But no, like we're thinking about somewhere next year.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool, man. That'd be fun. They do it with rowing and stuff all the time. My sister did that with crew, where they had 24 hours of this urn going the whole time. And they would just jump in and do it. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool too. It'd be tough. I'd just start getting 15-minute naps in, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now. We've been running 24-hour lock-ins, right? And you think that a 15-minute nap would help. It actually makes things worse. Just stay up, dude. Actually, I'm drinking right now. It's called Bulletproof Coffee. Have you ever tried any of that?
No, I don't drink coffee. I'm a tea guy.
Okay. There's a guy named Dave Asprey who runs bulletproofexecutive.com, and we're cranking Bulletproof Coffee through these 24-hour lock-ins, dude, and it's saving my ass because it's not easy once a month staying up for 24 hours at a clip.
Yep.
Yeah. It sucks. But all right, listen, I've taken up plenty of your time. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
How do we get a hold of you? Tell people how to get a hold of you.
Jake at doubleleggninja.com. This is the thing. We're making wrestling easy. One, we're taking the training program, our base training that we have, that we're doing here in Michigan. Andy and I were made the executive directors of USA Wrestling Michigan. So we're trying to get that organization, just help with the organization, help get some clinics going, get some tournaments running smoothly, and create something different. Going to a wrestling tournament, you know what you're going to. It's a tournament. It's unfortunate that, kids drive for 14 hours to buy a hotel room for the night, and then they go out there and they get pinned their first match, and then they get pinned their second match, and then all of a sudden they did all this traveling and stuff for a minute of wrestling, 2 minutes of wrestling.
Yeah,
that's not a good experience, man. It's not good. So we want to start throwing these events. We don't want to do tournaments. We want to do events, especially for the youth, especially that are just getting into the sport. To go there and do that and go that way, it's discouraging for a kid. So we want these events to basically use the time in the gym. If these kids are in a gymnasium for 4 hours, well, for about 3 hours and 30 minutes of it, or 3 hours and 15 minutes of it, they got to be doing something to get better. Now, that doesn't mean sprints. It doesn't mean bikes. It could be mental training. It could be easy exercise. It could be like just little things like jumping over your partner, cone hop, stuff like that. We want to create these events that we want to put on here in Michigan and be able to track your athletic progress. So that's what we've come up with, is just a series of tests, a fun practice that'll happen where everyone that shows up, regardless if you're John Smith or it's your first time wrestling, you're going to come to one of these events, you're going to have fun, you're going to learn, and you're going to get better, and your time spent in the gym is going to be used. So that's the big thing, and those will be happening all over the state of Michigan. musaw.org is the webpage.
What was it again?
Yeah, MUSAW.
Okay.
So it'd be like Michigan USA Wrestling is what it stands for. So musaw.org. That's the webpage. We'll have a series of events and clinics this year and tournaments that we'll put on. Anything that's going on with USA Wrestling and State of Folk Style, Andy and I are going to try to be involved and make it fun and make sure that everybody's getting the most out of it as you can. Yeah, and the other thing is our double leg ninja, man. We understand high school coaches are volunteers. If you don't ever, I say that all my coaches class. I go, hey, how many of you here get a bonus if you guys have a champion?
Nope.
And they, what? A bonus for state champion? That's unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Well, crap, man. I mean, like, so what are you there for? What's the point of you being a high school coach? Why do you want your kids to be state champions if you're not getting anything out of it? Why there's a wrestling coach if you're only getting, and you break it down, a nickel an hour, right? You're there because wrestling's done something to you. Wrestling has changed you. It's made you who you are, and you want to give back to the sport. You feel like you have to, and this is the best way you want to do it. All right. So you don't have. That's where Double Leg Ninja kind of created and this like this training system. Now we have a training system that we can physically hand you that you don't need to write up every single practice. It's fine. Here's a mentality. Here's 30 minutes of agility. You want to see improvement in your team? Put them through this 30-minute warm-up every single day and then do your normal wrestling thing. And I guarantee you your kids will be better athletes. I guarantee you'll see them be better wrestlers because of this balance, because of this strength, because of this agility that they're doing from our series that we've developed. And now you bring that down to the wrestling coach, the same thing with your gear. Now you're telling me you have to, outside of being a volunteer, you have to track down 50 kids, get all their sizes, collect money from each one of them, call a dealer and distributor, and then call a dealer and then place the order. Like come on.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot. So
when you say it, I forget sometimes when you say it how much of a pain in the ass it is.
So what doubleleggninja.com does is it makes it easy for you. All you have to do is communicate with us. Give us your logo. Give us your thing that you want. We put up a team store for you. So now all you got to do is just we send you the team.
Send the link, yeah.
Send you the link. You send the link to everybody. You don't have to collect money. You don't have to collect sizes. You don't have to collect things. And we can make it a fundraising aspect of it. We can put T-shirts up there where X amount of every one of these T-shirts sold, money goes back to your club. So now you can put that back into it. So if you want to go to the parents, you want to go to your boosters, you want to go to your fans, and you want to say, hey, we sell 50 of these shirts. Our club gets $500. Something like that. So we make it easy. We make it simple. And we're giving directly back to the sport. We want to help.
Very wrestler's mentality, man.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my grand scheme. That's what me and Robat have been plowing away. That's what we've been putting 15-hour days into, and that's what we'll continue putting 15-hour days into. And we're excited. We start this weekend with our clinics. So we actually have 8 weekends straight here of clinics in Michigan, all over the state. So you can.
Where can they find those?
Michigan USA Wrestling. So musaw.org has the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to come to one of these clinics, all you need is a USA Wrestling card. You can come to every single one of these ones with Robat. Now you can get 8 weeks straight of clinicians for a $15 card.
Get out of here.
So yeah, it's not a bad idea. And what's really funny is we're being fought with just one clinic. One guy is fighting with us right now, and it's very, very frustrating. We want to do all our clinics 11 to 1. He's like, no, we need a 4-hour clinic. It needs to be 4 hours for these kids.
Come on.
I'm like, yo, we're coming to your school for free. We're coming to your school for free, where it's going to benefit your club, your school. Why does it have to be like, no, it'll start at 10 o'clock. No, we're going to be there from 11 to 1. The clinics will run 11 to 1. No, it's going to go 10 to 1. Well, you know what?
Then you get nothing.
We're not going to be there now.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. These people,
yeah. They take advantage. It's unfortunate because while the work ethic that we display, we meaning the wrestling culture displays on a consistent basis, is pretty remarkable. There is a tendency sometimes for it to be taken advantage of by people that haven't worked as hard as you have, or maybe I have. So to those people that are out there trying to get something for nothing out of not just guys like you, but guys in general in this sport, and you see it all the time, they nickel and dime us on everything. Understand that this sport will give back to you in more ways than monetary value. Come on, man. You got to understand that nobody gets into wrestling to become rich, all right?
Wrestling to become rich, sorry.
Yeah.
Man, but you can become rich in different ways. My battery's about to die on my computer.
All right, no worries.
But
we're getting out of here soon anyway.
That's the thing. It's I've the most rewarding thing I can have in wrestling is who I became, who I am now from that sport, and who I am, and I feel like I'm somebody who, when set their mind to something, can lay out a plan, can work as hard, who will execute that plan to do anything they want to do. So it's a nice feeling to have. That's the most rewarding thing I can have, and the best thing I can see from the sport is when you get a group of kids who they go, no, there's no way I can do that. There's no way I can do that. And I go, well, have you ever tried that? No, I've never
Nope.
tried front heads. Well, we're going to try it today. We're going to try front handsprings today. We're going to stay on them. We're going to try them for about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to see everybody here in the class says, no, they can't do that. No way they can do that. You've all never tried. Now let's go do it. And you get those 6, 7 kids that try it for the first time and they do it and they go, oh my God, they get that belief. They get that spark. They're like, oh my God, I can do this. What else can I do? What else do I think I can do? I don't have limitations. I don't have expectation. And that's what we want to instill into these kids.
Oh, you're speaking my language, brother. You really are, and we need to continue these talks. I mean, whether we record them or we don't, we need to continue these talks because the more we can, confer with one another. I know I talk to those guys down at the compound quite a bit. I talk to Kraus quite a bit out in Michigan. But we need to kind of stay in touch with one another and see what we're working on,
Yep.
both systematically and technically as well. I'm interested in some.
You got it right, Mike. I got an email from my flow video about a kid that was a guy that was like, "Hey, I have a 6-year-old and I come from a wrestling family on both sides, and I'm getting pressured on both sides to get my 6-year-old into wrestling." And I'm like,
We talked about that, didn't we?
"Yeah, right. Can your 6-year-old go to sleep at like? Do you expect him to go to the bathroom to clean up and then he's completely wiped his butt and everything, right? Can you trust him to do that on his own?
Not
No.
really.
So why are you even worried about having him in a wrestling match competing?
Because
Yeah.
other people are. That's why.
Yeah.
And that's where the pressure's coming from, dude. It's coming from other people. I posted on my Instagram a picture of my son with a black eye. He fell at the gym, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my wife took him to the gym. He was in the kitty care at the gym. He fell. First thing that people said, "Oh, did you get that wrestling?" No, dude. No, he's a regular 5-year-old. He's a
Yeah.
regular 5-year-old. Okay, kid just wants to go play in a damn ball pit. He ain't hitting double legs from the outside. Come on, man. So, but yeah, look, we gotta make sure that these kids have a better experience
Right.
than I did growing up, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mike.
All right, I'll talk to you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Later.
See you.